had a girlfriend there for 9 months. They were publicly dating and nobody in the unit thought anything of it. When I was 8 months pregnant, he cheated on me again, this time with 2 other females. I drove myself to the hospital after my water broke. He decided that he was gonna stay home until I was actually in labor. So every time I would reach out and be like, hey, do you wanna talk to the kids? He'll be like, no, don't contact me. But then randomly, he would send me pictures of his girlfriend, like literal selfies of her. Like she would be in her car like this, like it's like a picture that she took of herself that maybe she sent him. I remember getting like a message from him, opening it, and it was just a picture of her. And then he would say the craziest, literally word for word, she's so much better than you. She's so much prettier than you. It wasn't the most random times. Like I would literally be at work at my desk and I'm like, what the fuck? At this point, I fully crash out. And he walks out of the house, goes to the neighbor house, and calls the cops on me.
You know how they say some men will cheat, and at least have the decency to act sorry. This man skipped sorry and went straight to calling the cops on his pregnant wife, while she was the one being cheated on. Yeah, it's that kind of story. You know that old Navy saying, Tom, men will wave goodbye to their wives on the pier while their girlfriends wait on the ship. Well, this army man heard that and said, hold my deployment papers. 9 months overseas. Came back like everything was perfect. 2 weeks later, his wife decides to bring him dinner at work. Just trying to be sweet, you know? Shows up with tacos. And that's when his sergeant, his boss, looked at her like she was a ghost and pulled her aside. What he told her in that moment, that conversation destroyed her entire world. But here's the thing, that was just the first time. Because after the crying, after the begging, after the therapy and the promises, this man did it again. And the way she found it out the second time. Girl, you're not ready. Stick around for this one.
Story time on how I found out that my ex-husband was cheating on me for 9 months with his coworker. During this time, my ex-husband was in the military and I thought we were happily married. I thought I was in a healthy marriage with this amazing man. And my ex-husband was due to deploy overseas for 9 months. This was my first experience as a military wife dealing with a deployment. And it was very, very hard because I missed him so much. And I honestly thought he felt the same way, but come to find out. Now, I feel like I shouldn't have to say this, but I'm still gonna say it because I feel like this is something that really got to me at that time. I was faithfully waiting for him for the entire 9 months. I never even had eyes for another man. And I was under the impression that the feelings were mutual. There were no red flags. He was never acting any different. So 9 months go by, we're reunited. Life felt blissful again. The marriage was rock solid. We were doing great. By this time, my ex-husband had already been back for about 2 weeks. Then I remember that he was assigned a 24-hour duty day. That's pretty much when the soldier has to work for a 24-hour shift. This is a day that I would never forget because it was so traumatic for me. He's at work. And then I get off of work, I come home, make dinner, I bring him dinner. So I go in the building and I walk into the front desk and then I see his boss, his sergeant. This is a sergeant that I had met before during like family events. So I walk in and I'm like, hey, how you doing? I brought him dinner, but I also brought a little extra for you just in case you're hungry. It was like tacos or something. And that man looked at me like he saw a ghost. But at this point, I asked him, is everything okay? And he says, no, ma'am. Can I pull you to the side so we can talk about something? And he asked me, are you still married to so-and-so? I said, yes, that's my husband. He's always been my husband. This guy says, oh no, ma'am. He made it seem like he was going through a divorce with you, like he was separated. He had a girlfriend there for 9 months. That other soldier was walking around telling people that your husband was her boyfriend and they were literally a couple out there. They were publicly dating and nobody in the unit thought anything of it because he kept telling everybody that you and him were split up and that you and him were going through a divorce, that you and him were not together. He also said a few other things about how he felt like I didn't deserve that and blah, 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 blah. Because even though me and his sergeant didn't know each other like that, but we had interacted at like family events and gatherings. And I remember one year I had a Thanksgiving dinner and I invited a lot of the people from his unit and I invited him too. And he came over to our house and we had dinner. Like we would always get together at like events and gatherings. So we weren't weren't friends because I don't befriend men, but we were cordial because of my husband. You know what I'm saying? In that moment, I remember feeling like my heart dropped all the way to my stomach. I remember asking him, so you're telling me the whole 9 months, the whole time he was over there, he was with that girl? And he said, yes, ma'am, I have no reason to lie to you. This is her name. This is her rank. This is what she looked like. That was his girlfriend. Everybody in the unit knows that he was with her. After he said that, I said, thank you so much for telling me this. I start walking away and heading towards my car. As I'm walking towards my car, my ex-husband is walking out of some room, and then he sees me. He's like, hey, babe, where are you going? I just turn around and I look at him, and I just turn back around and keep walking. He follows me outside to my car, and he's like, what's wrong? What's going on? What happened? So in that moment, I tell him, I found out everything I know about your girlfriend. However, this is not a discussion we're gonna have here in public. We're gonna talk about this at home. This man looked at me like he saw a ghost. He was just shocked. Like, he couldn't believe what I was saying to him. He like snapped out of it, and he was like, no, but I can explain. No, like, it's a misunderstanding. Did my sergeant tell you that? Because that's the only person who was there. Like, there's no, like, he just started rambling. Like, no, like, that never happened. That's a lie. Whoever told you that is just plotting against our marriage. He was spiraling, saying random stuff. In that moment, I tell him, we're not about to cause a scene here. I'm done talking to you. We will talk at home. I'm walking away now. Do not follow me to my car. So I walk back to my car, and as I'm driving home, I'm literally breaking down, sobbing. I feel this like I said, like my heart dropped to my stomach. I felt so broken. I remember my heart beating really, really fast. I remember just crying, like sobbing, like to the point that I was speeding and I didn't realize it. And I got stopped by the police. This police officer stops me, and as he's coming up to my window, he sees that I'm like crying. He's like, are you okay, ma'am? Do you know you were speeding? Like, you know how they question you? I was like, no, I'm not okay. I just found out my husband was cheating on me. And he asked me like, are you okay to drive? And I was like, yeah, I'm just sad. That's all. He said, okay, well, no more speeding. I'm gonna let you go with a warning. I'm just gonna follow you for a little bit just to make sure you get home safe. I was like, thank you so much. I made it home. And the next day, my ex-husband comes home from his 24-hour shift, and let me know if you want a part 2.
Hold on. Let's sit with what just happened for a second. This man had a girlfriend for 9 months. Not a weekend hookup. Not a drunk mistake. A relationship. With base housing drama and unit cookouts, and people asking, where's your wife? And him going, oh, we're getting divorced. Except they weren't. She was at home, waiting for him, being faithful. And when she found out, not from him, not from a text, but from his boss while delivering tacos, he didn't even have the decency to confess. He followed her to the car trying to gaslight her in real time. That's a lie. People are plotting against us. That never happened. Sir, your sergeant gave her names and ranks. That's not a plot. That's a roster. But here's what really gets me. She's driving home crying so hard that she's speeding and doesn't even realize it. Gets pulled over, and the cop, a random cop who doesn't know her from Eve, feels so bad that he follows her home to make sure she gets there safe. When a stranger shows you more care than your husband, that's not a red flag anymore. That's a whole communist parade. Now you'd think this would be the worst of it. You'd be wrong.
So now we know that my ex-husband was in the military. He was cheating on me with his co-worker who was also a military service member. And we know that I found out because his sergeant told me. So that day I got home and I spent the entire night crying. I felt so depressed and just outright broken. I think broken is an understatement. That night, my ex-husband was texting me and calling me and saying, I need to explain myself. Please give me a chance to explain myself. None of that is true. Everything that you were told was a lie. And then he started saying things like, so you're gonna believe a stranger over me, your husband? He started gaslighting, saying like, wow, you really don't trust me. You really don't believe me. I see how you really feel. He was spiraling out of control, texting me, calling me. I just put my phone on Do Not Disturb and just ignored him for the rest of the night. Because in my heart, in my gut, I just knew. I knew that what he told me was true and that my ex-husband was lying to me. So the next day, my ex-husband comes home and I tell him that I'm gonna file for divorce. I tell him that I'm done because this is something that I just can't forgive or move past. And in that moment, this man starts crying, sobbing. He gets on his knees. He's holding on to my leg and telling me, please, no, don't leave me. I can't live without you. You're the love of my life. Asking me for forgiveness and pleading. And I'm also crying. I tell him like, no, I can't forgive this. Like, this is literally insane. You done slept with her. You done did all these things with her behind my back and then came home to me. You literally could have given me an STD. He's still begging and crying, asking for a second chance. And a part of me wanted to reach out to the girl to question her and confront her, but I didn't want to give her the satisfaction to let her know that I was hurt, that I was suffering, because she knew about me. She knew that we were together. At this point, I'm starting to feel a little conflicted. I don't know what to do or what my next steps should be. So I talked to my mom and I'm like, Mom, like all of this happened. I feel like contacting the girl and going up the chain of command and doing all of this. My mom literally tells me in Spanish, don't you ever lower yourself to confront another woman. You're the wife. She's the mistress. Nunca te rebajes a confrontar a otra mujer, porque la culpa no es de ella, es de tu marido. El que te debe lealtad es tu marido. My mom pretty much said like, the person who owes you loyalty is your husband, not the other woman. There's nothing to confront over there. She's not the one that was married to you, is your husband. So the full responsibility falls on him. Mom was pretty much like, she's one of those easy ones. Let her be. Her karma will come later. Don't worry about her. Right now, you have a decision to make. Are you gonna choose to forgive him or are you gonna get divorced? I told my mom, I'm gonna get a divorce because I am not gonna forgive this. So that same week, I started packing my things. I'm coming up with a plan on how to move out and start the divorce process. And my ex-husband is still begging, still asking for forgiveness, still asking for a second chance. At this point, I don't know if I wanna move back to my hometown or stay here, keep my job, stay in college, and just find like an apartment in the area. Anyways, that entire process took about a month and we were living like roommates. I was still in love with him, but I felt repulsed by him. Like I was disgusted. Every time I would look at him, I would just think about him and her together. It was just such a weird, I don't know how to explain it. Like I loved him so much and I was so hurt, but every time I would look at him, my heart would just break all over again because all I could see was him and her. Fast forward a couple weeks later, I found out I was pregnant. We were expecting our first son. And then I felt like my world was turned upside down all over again. The last thing that I wanted at this time was to be pregnant by the man I was getting ready to leave. So the same day I found out that I was expecting, I tell him, he's very happy. Because before he got deployed overseas, him and I were planning on trying to conceive after the deployment. We talked about having kids and having a family and buying a house because we were renting at the time. We had made all these plans about like what we're gonna do after I graduate college and all these dreams and goals. And then I made the very stupid decision to stay with him for the sake of our child because I wanted nothing more than for my child to grow up in a two-parent household. I didn't have that growing up. My ex-husband didn't have that growing up. And it's something that like we just always wanted. And then at the time, my ex-husband was saying that he would do anything. He would do anything to make me happy, to make our marriage strong again. He introduced the idea of couples therapy. But I agreed. I agreed to couples therapy. We started therapy, which was honestly really, really good. I learned a lot. And a lot of my own personal traumas were able to come out to the surface. And I was able to heal from a lot of things that happened to me in my childhood. But that's neither here nor there. As the pregnancy was progressing, we were still in couples therapy. I still didn't trust him. I still didn't believe a lot of the things he was telling me. Like when he told me, oh, I love you. I was still struggling with other things in the marriage too, because like every time I would look at him, I was still getting like flashbacks of like him and her. There was a lot of trauma on my end that I was like digesting. And then he started kind of getting tired of it. He would say things like, why are you still bringing this up? That was like 5 months ago. I was like, excuse me? Or whenever I would ask questions about that relationship he had, he would be like, I thought we were leaving the past in the past. Why are you still trying to bring this up? Why are you still trying to bring up a situation that already happened? And I felt like he was just trying to like get me to like move on really, really fast. Even though things were starting to kind of get a little better, like we weren't arguing all the time. I was trying not to bring up the situation or ask too many questions because I genuinely wanted things to be healthy. I really, really wanted to get past it, but I couldn't. because months later, I was still heartbroken. Not only that, like that cheating, like at that level, messes you up, like mentally, emotionally. As a woman, you start looking at yourself differently. Your self-esteem was here, it is now here. Start questioning yourself. You start thinking like, why wasn't I good enough? What was I missing? And you also start questioning the things that he says to you, like when he calls you beautiful, and he tells you he loves you. Start questioning like, does he really mean that, or is he lying? Then you start questioning everything else. He stays at work late. Is he cheating again? Could he be cheating again? Could he just be hiding it better? It's so damaging. I felt like I was pregnant and at the lowest point of my life. I was literally struggling with depression. It was very sad. It wasn't a happy pregnancy. Oh my God, it's been like 11 years since this. My son is 11 years old today. Why am I still crying about this? I literally just... By the way, I'm not hurt. I don't have any lingering feelings about what happened. My ex-husband and I actually get along. We co-parent really great. I'm remarried. I'm happily remarried. I love my husband. He's the best. After my kids, my husband, my current husband, is one of the best things that happened to me. I'm crying right now because I remember so many things that happened during that and after that. I just feel how like I didn't deserve any of it. I suffered so much. I was such a depressed, broken version of myself. I was such a sad mom, a broken mom. I didn't deserve any of it. Let me fast forward a little bit so you know what's coming. When I was 8 months pregnant, he cheated on me again, this time with 2 other females. I'm running out of time. Let me know if you want part 3. By the way, I am crying because I'm remembering that, like I said, I didn't deserve to be treated the way that I was. And I'm a little disappointed in myself because why did I allow someone to treat me that way? Why did I think so low of myself? Why did I not love myself enough to realize that I deserve better? That's why I'm crying. I also realized that I was way younger and way dumber. It's life, you know, sometimes shitty things happen to good people and it is what it is. Again, let me know if you guys want part 3 to find out how he cheated on me again. And then after our divorce, I found out he had cheated on me another time.
So she stayed. And I already know what you're thinking. 21 years old, pregnant. No job because nobody hires someone at 8 months. Parents living in poverty with an abusive stepdad. No savings, no degree yet. And 3 options: stay with a cheater, be homeless with a newborn, or... Actually, that's it. Those were the only 2 options. Sometimes the choices aren't good or bad. Sometimes they're terrible or catastrophic. And she picked terrible. Can't even blame her for that. Anyway, guess what he does while she's stuck?
During this time, I was 8 months pregnant with our first son, and I started to get this gut feeling that he was cheating on me and that something was off. He was also acting very distant, very cold, very weird, not like himself. He would come home and not greet me anymore. He wouldn't hug me. He wouldn't kiss me. He was just not being himself. There was also something else he started doing that he didn't do in the past. He would lock himself in the bathroom for an hour to an hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours. And of course, he would always take his phone with him. So one day I waited for him to go to sleep. When he went to sleep around like 1 in the morning, I grabbed his phone, locked myself in the bathroom and went through his phone. And my gut feeling was right. This time he was cheating on me with 2 different females. One was like a long distance relationship, and then the other girl was local. Now let me tell you how creative he was at hiding the text messages and all the cheating evidence. When I started going through his phone at first glance, there really wasn't anything that stood out to me until I noticed that there were 2 calculator apps. For some context, he had an Android phone. When I opened the first calculator app, it was a normal calculator app. You could put in numbers and it'll just give you a result. Then the second calculator app, once you open the app, it asks you for a login. I put in both of the emails that I knew he had, and it said that the account was not found. So in that moment, I knew he created a new email for this fake calculator app. And obviously I didn't know what the new email was. So I just started thinking, like, what would I do if I was him? If I was creating a new email, I know that it's going to prompt me to put a backup email. And I figured he will put his email that I have access to as the backup. So I went looking through his email, and in his deleted like trash can, he had a deleted email that had a confirmation to the new email. So I was able to get access to that new email, log into the calculator app, and there he had 3 months worth of text messages, videos, pictures of this girl. It was like a lot. He would text and call her while he was at work. He would also text and call her while he was at home when he was in the bathroom. Something else he started doing is he started going to the gym after work. He would also talk to her or meet up with her during that time. Now, the other girl, the long distance girl, I didn't go too deep into that because she was like in another state. So in my mind, I was like, he hasn't even met her. I was more invested into the one that was like right here. I took a screenshot of every single picture, video, and text message that I found on his phone, just in case he would try to delete it later and then deny it. And in the most recent text messages, as in the text messages that were happening on that day, this man was telling her that he was in love with her, that he was going through a divorce with me, that he was almost done with the divorce, that he was so excited to start a relationship with her because she is prettier than me and so much better than me. He literally said, "You're so much better than my wife. I can't wait to be divorced from her so that I can be with you. You're so beautiful." He was also saying very inappropriate things, very sexual things. She was sending him videos and pictures of herself fully in her birthday suit. You already know how he was responding to that, like a dog. And let me tell you, when I was reading all of this, I was 8 months pregnant and I felt like my heart sunk to the bottom of my stomach. I literally felt like someone punched me in the gut. Mind you, we were just recovering from a very extensive cheating episode. It was his idea to go to family therapy, and I went to every single appointment. It was his idea to give the marriage a second chance, and like a dummy, I gave him another chance because he said, "I would never do this to you again. I'm so sorry." That man cried so much and begged me to stay so many times, and I believed him. My self-love was really low. I was also in my early 20s, so my frontal lobe wasn't fully developed. And at that time, I believed that he would change. And again, I was very young and dumb. I am now 30 years old. See, a lot of the things that I accepted, dealt with, and did back then, I could never do now. I am literally a whole different person than the girl I was before. I'm only saying this to you because a lot of people were asking me in the comments things like, "Why would you stay with him? I'm so disappointed that you stayed." I was 21 years old, baby. I thought he was the love of my life, but little did I know. Anywho, back to the story. Here's where it gets even crazier, and I'm not proud of the things I did this night because I crashed out. So after I have a crying session alone in the bathroom, I take all the screenshots, I send them to my phone because I knew he was going to delete everything and deny everything. At this time, it's 2 a.m. I wake him up and I confront him and I literally tell him, "Who the F is this B?" I'm going off. I'm 8 months pregnant, so I'm like holding my belly because I'm in distress. And this man literally wakes up and tells me, "Why did you go through my phone? You're invading my privacy. How dare you? Why would you do that? I have not cheated on you." And then I tell him, "I literally see the messages between you and her." He's like, "That's not me. That's not me." He's denying everything. And at this point, like my anger is like at level 100. So then he starts asking me for his phone back. He's like, "Give me back my phone. Give me back my phone. You shouldn't be going through my phone anyways." At this point, I fully crash out and I'm like, "Oh, you want your phone? You want your phone? Okay." So I grab the phone and I walk all the way to the kitchen. I grab a hammer. I put the phone on the floor and I start smashing the phone with the hammer. Yeah, not my proudest moment. Not my proudest crash out. Don't ever do that. Mind you, I smashed the phone. I didn't threaten him. I didn't smash anything else. So at this moment, he walks out of the house, goes to the neighbor house, and calls the cops on me. The cops show up. They do their questioning. I tell them what happened. I was like, "Look, I'm 8 months pregnant. I just caught him cheating. And I had a moment of anger. I broke the phone. Yes, I did. But I didn't damage anything else. I didn't threaten him. I didn't put hands on him. Nobody put hands on each other." Like, no. The police officer just said like, "Oh, this is communal property. You guys are married. Like, it's not illegal for you to destroy your own property. You probably shouldn't do that in your condition. Like, ma'am, don't put yourself through this. If you're gonna leave, just leave him. Don't destroy his property." He just gave me like a spill. The police left and then my ex-husband decides that he's gonna sleep at his friend's house because we just needed some time to like cool off. Then the next day he buys a new phone, he comes back and I'm still angry. I'm still confronting him about this lady, still very, very heartbroken. And then he does the same thing that he always does, deny, deflect, and then ask for forgiveness and ask for another chance. And I still loved him, but this time I was so done with him, like done. I was so disgusted. It was like another level of disgust because this time I saw the interaction. See, last time, I think the cheating The first cheating episode was worse, but this time I got like visuals. Seeing the things he would say to her, seeing the way that they would interact with each other. It's like so much. He was acting like he was in love with this girl. Then he's in my face telling me that he's in love with me, that he would never leave me. He's like, yes, I said those things to her, but me and her never slept together. I was never gonna leave you. I would never leave you. I was just being dumb. I don't know what's going on with me. I don't know what's wrong with me. And listen, I know some of you were really mad at me because I stayed with him through the first cheating episode. So if you were mad at me then, you're about to be even more mad at me now. I was 8 months pregnant. I was a full-time college student. I didn't have a job because nobody would hire someone at 8 months pregnant. And even if I could get a job, it wasn't going to be a very good one because I didn't have a college degree or extensive work experience. Like I had worked at like cashier jobs and things like that. But even if I was to get a job after my son was born, like I knew it wasn't going to be like a high paying job. So please step into my shoes for a little bit before you judge me. 21 years old in college. My biggest goal in life was to get a bachelor's degree so that I could have a stable career. And I knew that I was a few years away from that. I also couldn't leave him and just go and live with my parents because my parents' situation was not stable. My mom was married to a very abusive man. And at that time, they lived in poverty. There was nothing my parents could do to help me. Like my mom was there for me emotionally, but she couldn't financially help me, if you know what I mean. So in that moment, I knew that my options were very limited. If I leave this man right now, I'm gonna be homeless with a baby. So I stayed. If I had the means to leave at that time, I would have left. Like I said, that was just not an option for me at that time. I don't have a village. I don't come from privilege. I don't come from a good family. I come from the hood. I come from literally nothing. There was never a backup for me. My backup was me and my brain. Even though at this time I'm telling my ex-husband, like, I'm gonna leave you, I'm gonna divorce you, I'm done with you. In my mind, I knew I was not leaving because I couldn't. Or at least I felt like I couldn't at that time. Then I also thought about how I was about to bring my son into the world and I didn't want to bring him into a world of struggle. The same way my parents brought me into the world. And I struggled and dealt with a lot of childhood trauma because of that. I'm out of time. Let me know if you want part 4.
A fake calculator app. I need you to really sit with that for a second. This man saw a secret vault app disguised as a calculator and thought, yes, this is exactly what I need for my affair. Like he's hiding nuclear codes and not just pictures of a girl he's texting, you're so much prettier than my wife too. The drama of it all. And she found it. Because women always do. We turn into the FBI when something feels off. She went through his trash folder, found the backup email, cracked the code, and there it was. 3 months of evidence that he was planning his whole exit strategy, telling this girl he's in love with her, can't wait to leave his wife, all while his pregnant wife is in the next room. So yeah, when she woke him up at 2 a.m., and he had the audacity to say, "Why did you invade my privacy?" Baby, privacy left the building when you started raw-dogging your calculator app. And the hammer. Listen, I'm not saying property destruction is the answer. I'm just saying that phone had information on it that would have made me religious, because I would have needed to pray for strength. But this man really called 911, went next door to the neighbor's house and told the police his pregnant wife was dangerous. The cops showed up, heard the story, and basically said, "Sir, that's her phone too. Maybe don't cheat on your pregnant wife if you want your stuff to stay intact." Even law enforcement knew he was wrong, and they see domestic situations all day.
Okay, so like I really want to fast forward to like the divorce and then after the divorce, because that is when my life starts to like level up drastically. That is also the part where karma does her thing. And at the same time, my life is leveling up in every single aspect. You would have told me that after everything I went through, after all the brokenness, after all the trauma, after all the misery, after all the tears I cried, I would end up living this life, the life that I have now, would have never believed you. Let's continue with the story. I was pregnant. I decided to stay with him after his second cheating episode because I felt like I had no way out. I literally felt stuck. So I stayed. We had the baby. I was still in college full-time, actually more than full-time. I was taking 18 credits per semester. I was also taking college classes in the summer because I wanted to finish my degree faster. And as the time went by, he didn't cheat on me again that I know of. Maybe he just got better at hiding it. Who knows? But things did get better between us. When I say better, I mean like there was no fighting. We were no longer in a place of hostility. We were no longer arguing or having these discussions. It was very peaceful. Like I said, we had the baby. I didn't want my son growing up in the middle of a war zone. So as time goes by, he gets promoted in the military. He starts ranking up. I'm getting through college. After a little while, I decided to put my son in daycare, and then I went back to work while I was still in college. And then my ex-husband and I decided to buy a house. After we bought our house, I got pregnant again, and then he got injured in the military. He was actually being medically discharged. This was also during the time that I was graduating college. It was like such a weird timeline because he was literally getting discharged that month, and I had graduated college that month. Then I started my new job. It was a very demanding career. You guys know I was a social worker. And then he lands a contractor job outside of the military. If you know anything about contractor jobs, baby, they are paid. His first contractor job was starting at 6 figures. I was a social worker. I was making decent money, but I was not touching 6 figures, baby. Also, he was not making 6 figures in the military. Matter of fact, nobody in the military makes 6 figures. So when he landed that job, we're like, oh my gosh, we're gonna buy our dream house. We're gonna sell this house, buy our dream house, in-ground pool, baby. During this time, we were so excited, so happy. Like we felt like we reached all of our goals, or like at least all of the things that we wanted were coming to fruition. I was still like 24 years old. He was also still in his 20s. I feel like we were doing so good financially. As we both know, that didn't last too long. We were excited about the things that were happening in our lives, but we were also very disconnected. I had also dealt with postpartum depression. He didn't support me or help me through that process. And also, when I gave birth, he wasn't there for the birth. I actually gave birth by myself in the hospital because my ex-husband was too busy gaming at home. I drove myself to the hospital after my water broke. He decided that he was gonna stay home until I was actually in labor. It took about 15 hours for me to actually start labor. So I call him at that time. I'm like, hey, I'm in labor, baby's coming. He's not answering his phone. He calls me the next day after the baby's born. He's like, oh, I'm sorry, I was sleeping. I'm on my way there. He shows up like 4 hours later. There were a few other things that happened, not related to cheating, that I just felt were unacceptable. Even though I felt like we were financially moving up and reaching our goal, there was still a disconnect. He texts me at work and he's like, hey, we need to talk. I was like, what is it about? And he's like, oh, don't worry, we will talk when you get home. So I get home from work. He sits me down on the couch and this man tells me that he wants a divorce. Yeah, you thought it was gonna be me? No, it was him. He wanted a divorce. At this time, you need to remember, I'm in a different headspace. I'm not as emotional as I used to be. I attribute it to my frontal lobe being fully developed. I was 25 years old. He's like, yeah, we're just two different people. I can see that we're so disconnected. This is not gonna work. I was like, yeah, I agree, but I feel like because we have all these kids, like we should really think about this. Even though the love has grown cold between us, we should at least try to make this better. That was me. But then he said, no, I think we're done. He said, I'm filing for divorce. I was like, okay. Because one thing I was not gonna do was beg that man to stay with me. And I asked him, is there someone else? Because I already had a gut feeling. The only reason why this man was so ready to jump ship after we just had a baby, after he just landed a big boy job, getting paid a substantial amount of money he's never made before, I felt in my gut that there was definitely somebody else. He obviously denied it. He's like, no, there's nobody else, yo. But okay, if you want a divorce, I'll give you the divorce, no problem. At that point, we're having a conversation about how we're gonna go about the divorce. Is it gonna be contested? Are we gonna get attorneys? Or are we gonna do it on our own? Me and him decided that we would agree on everything. It was not gonna be a contested divorce. We were gonna just take the easy path. We're not gonna fight on anything because we both agreed to do a 50-50 split. Same thing with the custody. It was a 50-50 split in which I was gonna be the primary. But then he tells me, hey, I'm gonna be moving 8 hours away to El Paso. I'm like, oh, hold on, that changes things. You want a 50-50 custodial agreement where you're gonna be 8 hours away? We're not gonna be able to do 50-50. It's like, yeah, that's where my new job is. They're making me relocate, so I don't have a choice. Mind you, they offered him a position in the military base where we were at. He chose the same position, the same pay, the same everything, just 8 hours away. Like, why would you choose that? He's like, no, I just want a fresh start. I want to be in a new town. You know, I'm just tired of living in this area. So another military town? Okay. That's why I said, I'll give you 50-50, but it's not going to work because you're not going to be exercising your 50% because you're going to be all the way over there. Because I'm going to be the primary parent that's going to have the children majority of the time because you're choosing to move. We're going to have to do some child support. So he agrees to a reduced child support. I agreed to that too. I felt like I made enough money to pay all my bills and have money left over. If I needed more money, I would just work overtime. I was like, fine, I agree. We'll sell the house. We both split the shares 50-50. I said the divorce was not contentious. We were not arguing. It was literally so peaceful. We were having conversations like this, like, okay, whatever, what do you want? Of course, come to find out, the reason why he wanted a divorce in the first place and the reason why he chose the position in El Paso 8 hours away was because he has been talking to a girl who lives over there. He was already dating her. He was going to move in with her. I can't make this shit up, I swear. I'm like, yo. The reason why he disrupted the entire custody agreement was because he wanted. And at that time, I didn't crash out. I didn't care. I did find out about her and found out all of this while going through the divorce, but I didn't care, honey. I was too busy with work and taking care of my children. I literally had a 9-month-old baby, a 2-year-old and a 5-year-old, all on my own with no family support or help. He then left to El Paso. He moved in with her that same week. Literally left my house to go to her house. Started a very open and public relationship with her, going on trips, on vacations, posting her all over Facebook. After the divorce was finalized, he decided to not pay his child support or see the children. I was the one that was constantly reaching out to him so he could see the kids on video calls. And I have to do a part 5 because the time is running out. Oh my gosh.
So they survive all that. She has the baby, finishes her degree, they buy a house. He gets out of the military and lands a contractor job paying 6 figures. 6 figures. And that's when he decides he wants a divorce. See, the thing about certain men, they'll stay when you're struggling because you're easier to control. But the second they level up and don't need you anymore, that's when they remember they wanted their freedom all along. Watch this.
We left off where you guys know he got out of the military. He landed a high paying contracting job. He has a top security clearance, which is like the highest clearance you can get in the United States. And I need you to remember that because this is gonna come up later in a child support debacle that we had. So he asked me for a divorce after he landed a really high paying job. By this time I had already graduated college. I had my bachelor's degree. I landed a decent paying career. And the reason why he asked me for a divorce is because he was infatuated with a girl that lived 8 hours away. She was a nurse in El Paso. When he asked me for the divorce, he didn't tell me that there was somebody else. Obviously, you already know this guy never admits to anything. I actually found out about her later as we were going through the divorce. And as you guys know, when he asked me for a divorce, I didn't crash out. I didn't fight. I just said, okay. I remember this day like it was yesterday. I got home from work after working a 10-hour shift, so I was exhausted and hungry. He wanted to have the divorce conversation right then and there, so he sat me down on the couch. We discussed the entire divorce. We decided we were gonna have a peaceful, uncontested divorce. There was really nothing to fight for. And I was not trying to be petty. I was not trying to take anything from him. I wasn't asking for anything. In that moment, I understood something. When somebody don't want you, it is not your job to convince them to stay with you, baby. I was never gonna sit there and beg him to stay with me. I did tell him like, hey, we do have 3 kids. Like, you should really think about the impact that this is gonna have on the children. We had a 9-month-old baby, a almost 2-year-old, and a 5-year-old. I was kind of like, are you sure? And this man was like, yes, I'm ready to start my new life over. He said, I want my freedom. And I remember saying literally with this same demeanor, okay, I'll give you your freedom, but just remember, once you walk out that door, there's no coming back. Once you walk out that door, there will never be an opportunity again in this lifetime that you're gonna be able to get your family back. So please make sure that if this is the decision you're making right now, make sure you stick beside it for the rest of your life. The reason why I said this to him is because he's the type of man that will do something or make a decision and then come back and say, I'm so sorry, no, please take me back. I changed my mind. I don't want to spoil what's coming, but he did try to come back. So we had the divorce conversation. He actually went and filed for divorce that same week. He was very proactive. Like I said in the previous video, it was very peaceful. I agreed to everything. It was a very short, quick, and straight to the point divorce. And as you know, he was choosing to move 8 hours away to go be with the love of his life. I'm not not gonna lie to you, that did hurt me a little bit, but I was in a different headspace. I was just thinking like, who am I to stop you from finding your happiness? If that's what you want to pursue, go. And then also, why do I look like begging a man to choose me or stay with me? By this time, I was not the same 20-year-old girl from years ago that felt stuck. You remember at the beginning of the story how I was not her anymore. I felt like in that marriage, I was completely broken. And then I slowly rebuilt myself. I was also in a stage in my life where I was very focused on my career, focused on the kids. I was also focused on myself. I was heavy in the gym. I was going to the gym twice a day. I was pouring so much into myself, and I literally became the best version of myself. As soon as that man left that house, it felt like my life took a shift for the better. I don't know how to explain it, but everything in my life got better. My finances got better, my peace of mind, my mental health. I had such a cute little routine with my kids. And yes, being a single mom was hard, but my career allowed me to have the flexibility to work from home whenever I wanted. My days would look like this. I would wake up, take my 2 youngest to daycare, my oldest to school, then I will start working. Sometimes from home, sometimes from the office. Then my oldest son will go to after school care. And then after I was done with work, which was usually around 5, I will go pick up my kids, come home, make dinner, and have my little evening routine. My house felt peaceful, quiet. I didn't have no man stressing me out, baby. I didn't have no man cheating on me. I was a single mom, but I was a happy single mom. And I think the reason why I was so happy is because, number one, I had financial stability through my career. So I felt like I didn't need anyone's help or contribution. And this is very important because after he got with that girl, he decided he wasn't gonna pay any child support. I asked them like, hey, are you gonna make the child support payment? Like, you know, I'm paying for daycare and all these things, and we literally have a baby. And this man literally said, no, I'm not paying you Mind you, I had not said nothing to him. I had not done nothing to him. I didn't ask for nothing in the divorce. So to me, getting that reaction after we had mutually agreed to a child support that he set. Remember, in the state of Texas, it would have been 30%. I lowered the child support to 15%. I cut it in half for him as a courtesy because I felt like I didn't need 30% of his income. I was like, no, I don't need all that money. And I know some of you are gonna be like, girl, you should have taken the money. I was trying to be agreeable. I didn't want any beef with him. I was just trying to kind of like make the co-parenting situation run smooth. So I felt like by giving him what he wanted, I thought that will make him comply since it was his request. Oh, listen, he didn't even want to pay the reduced amount. And this man was making 6 figures. He was making a lot more money than me. Like, he knew how much I was making. He said, yeah, I'm not paying you nothing. You figure it out. And you already know how I am. One thing I'm not gonna do is beg a man for shit. I was like, okay, you don't want to pay anything? Then don't pay anything. Let the debt rack up. I remember texting him, I will never again ask you to support your children because you know what your responsibility is. Have a nice day. So then after that, I never brought up the child support conversation again. The only reasons why I would text him was to ask him if he wanted to talk to the kids because he stopped asking about the kids. Like, he stopped calling, he stopped texting. Mind you, I was not the bitter baby mama. I was not texting them, and I wasn't asking him nothing. But once a week, I would reach out and say, hey, do you want to video call the kids? They really miss you. They want to see you. Once a week. And this man would literally be like, no, I don't have time. So then I was like, okay, I'll reach out next week. Because I had my son asking me, where's daddy? Where's daddy? I miss daddy. I would literally sit there and tell my son, your daddy's in the military. He's deployed. That's why he can't see you. He can't call you right now because he's overseas. Remember how your daddy, he's like in the military, he's in the army, and sometimes he gets deployed. Over there, they don't have phones, like they're just working. So that's why he's not calling. So my son, my oldest son, was under the belief that his dad was in the army, deployed overseas. I literally had to lie to him because I was never gonna tell my son, your dad don't want to talk to you. There's also something else I never did. I never talked badly about their father to them. Never have, never will, because no matter what he does, these kids love their father. That's the way it's supposed to be. I found myself constantly having to lie and cover for him and make up stories about why dad doesn't see you or call you. I was seeing my son cry. I was seeing my son need contact with his father. You want to know the one thing that got to me? It was that. Eventually, he told me to stop contacting him, to stop bothering him. And I responded with, I only contact you to ask you if you want to have contact with the kids. And he said, just stop texting me. Don't ask me anything anymore. And I said, okay. There was no big paragraph. There was no crash out. There was no, how will you do this to the, no. Okay. And then I follow that up with, hey, if you ever want to see your kids, you know, you can see them anytime. If you ever want to talk to them, you know, the line of communication will always be open on my end. Have a nice day. He completely disappeared from their lives for the next 9 months, both physically and financially. And I just kind of kept lying to my son and telling him that his dad was still deployed. Eventually, the kid stopped asking. Let's go into part 6 because this is where he tries to come back. This is where he wants his family back.
And she said, okay. Not, please don't leave me. Not, what about the kids? Not, let's try therapy again. Just, okay. That's what growth looks like. When someone shows you they don't want you, believing them the first time instead of the 15th. But here's where it gets nasty. He moves to El Paso to be with his new girlfriend. The reason he wanted the divorce in the first place, obviously, and decides he's not paying child support. Making over 6 figures and tells the mother of his 3 children, you figure it out. Then disappears. Won't video call the kids. Won't check on them. Nothing. So she's lying to her 5-year-old saying, Daddy's deployed. Because what else is she supposed to say? Your father chose a woman in El Paso over y'all. She's covering for a man who didn't deserve her breath, let alone her protection. But it somehow gets more disrespectful. Hang on.
Previous video, I told you guys that he disappeared for 9 months. But prior to that, he was doing some petty things that, number one, was so uncalled for. Until this day, I don't understand why he did that. So every time I would reach out and be like, hey, do you want to talk to the kids? He'll be like, no, don't contact me. But then randomly, he would send me pictures of his girlfriend, like literal selfies of her. Like she would be in her car like this. Like it's like a picture that she took of herself that maybe she sent him. I remember getting like a message from him, opening it, and it was just a picture of her. And then he would say the craziest, literally word for word, she's so much better than you. She's so much prettier than you. It was at the most random times. Like I would literally be at work at my desk and I'm like, what the fuck? I would literally text back like, good for you, she is pretty. And then he wouldn't text me after that. Then a couple days later, I'll get like another picture. It'll be like him and her at like an outing. I think they went to like the Grand Canyon on vacation or something. And they literally sent me a picture that somebody took of them as they were like kissing in this like beautiful setting. Just random. I would literally text back like, okay, question mark. I was honestly so confused by that. I don't know if it was her using his phone and sending me those pictures or if it was him. I also never asked them because it honestly felt very petty, especially if I'm not saying anything to you, I'm not bothering you, I'm not reaching out to you. I'm only telling you this part of the story because I want to hear if this has ever happened to you. I just found that behavior extremely random. But anyways, a couple months went by, then he randomly texted me and let me know that he had broken up with his girlfriend. My response was, oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Do you want to talk to the kids? You know, our oldest has been asking about you for all this time and crying. And he's like, yeah, I really want to talk to the kids. I want to video call them. He's like, I'm sorry for not keeping contact for all these months. I was just in a really bad headspace. I'm going to try to do better. I'm going to start paying the child support. I need you to do me a favor. I responded with what? He's like, well, you know, because I didn't pay the child support for the past 9 months. I built up an arrearage. Now they're threatening to take away my top security clearance. He's like, I don't have the $12,000 to bring it current. If I don't bring it current by a certain time, they told me they're going to take my top security clearance and then I'm going to lose my job. And I responded with, what would you like me to do about that? For some context, when you have child support arrearage, which means you owe child support to the state, that balance is going to accumulate interest. He was at like $15,000, almost $16,000. And the state of Texas wanted their money because the state of Texas was the one that was collecting the child support. I was not doing anything on my end to like pursue the child support. Not because I didn't want the money or need the money, because I was busy. I was working crazy hours. I was doing overtime. Anytime my mom, my sister, or my grandma will fly into town to visit me, which was often, I will use the time that my family was visiting to work overtime. I was working crazy shifts. Like I was literally going into work from 8 a.m. until 7 p.m. And then I will go back in at 12 o'clock at night leave at 4 a.m. and then start all over again at 8 a.m. I was working doubles. I was doing DoorDash on the side because during that time, my goal was to pay off all my debt. And I didn't have a lot of debt. Like my car payment was like $315 and I only owed like $7,000. And I only had about $2,000 in credit card debt. So my goal was to pay all of that off and be debt free. I'm only telling you this because I'm gonna get into some finances later. I was really focused on grinding, making money, and the $15,000 that he owed in child support would have made a huge difference. If he would have paid his child support, I would have been able to work a little bit less and be more present with my kids. You already know, as moms, we gonna figure it out. Sorry we got sidetracked, but in this conversation, he tells me, will you be able to do like a forgiveness so that they can erase the debt so that I can keep my top security clearance? And I was like, so then he says, I just need you to do a forgiveness. That way they take the debt of the system. That way I keep my security clearance. I'm still gonna pay you back. I'm gonna pay you back for everything that I owe you. Just take my word for it. Before I tell you what happens next, please don't be mad at me. I know you're gonna be mad at me. Like, I just know. You don't understand. I'm literally so embarrassed to be telling you this right now. Okay, make sure you're sitting down. Make sure you're in your chair. I told him that I would agree to forgive the debt, that I was gonna do a settlement with him. What happens in this process is I do a written settlement agreement where I say that I forgive all of the arrearage in exchange for a lump sum payment or a payment arrangement. This is a document that is submitted to the court. Once the judge signs it, they remove the arrearage from his account, and then it shows that he has no debt. He still is obligated to pay his monthly child support, but he no longer has to deal with the arrearage. Also, because he owed so much, he was not able to renew his passport. In the state of Texas, once you owe over $2,500 in child support, you are not able to renew your passport and travel outside of the country. He was also crying about that. But yeah, the debt was forgiven. I need you to sit down again. Yeah, he never paid me back any of that money. Remember how he said, I'm gonna pay you back, take my word for it. The months went by, I was like, hey, can you start making payments or adding a little bit extra to make up for the debt? He said, what debt? I don't owe you anything. I'm paying you every month the court-ordered child support. We're all gonna breathe in and breathe out together. Like my mom said, que pendeja. Let me tell you something about me. You see me here talking like this and saying all these things, but I don't regret doing that. Anything that I've done that I felt like was good to a person, I don't regret doing. Because everything that felt like a loss, God multiplied times 100 for me. Let me tell you this, never regret the good that you have done for an ungrateful person. Never regret that. Everything eventually comes back to you, whether good or bad. So even though at that time in my life, it kind of felt like I took a loss, it didn't matter because in the end, I was blessed 100-fold. Let's continue with the story because it gets crazy. After I do the child support forgiveness, he gets another girlfriend and he starts paying child support consistently every month, just the minimum amount. He also starts to maintain more contact with the kids. He starts calling. Now he wants to exercise his visitation and I let him. Literally told him, hey, you can get the kids whenever you want. He did have a court order that established his visitation time, but I didn't really follow it because if he wanted to see the kids longer than that, I allowed him to. Because I know that my kids needed their father in their lives. I wanted to facilitate that, to make that easy. If I had to drive and meet him halfway, I did that. Even though in my court order it says he's supposed to pick up the kids at my door. Until this day, I still do that. My husband and I still drive and meet him halfway just to make it easier because we're currently 8 hours away from each other. He has another girlfriend. He tells me that he has a girlfriend. I'm like, great, I'm happy for you. And a month later, he starts texting me on some weird stuff. And he's like, hey, I just broke up with her. I'm like, oh no. Yeah, I love you. I want to get back with you. Oh no. I text him, that's not an option. He's like, you don't understand. I'm so down. I just want my family back. That's all I want. You're the love of my life. I messed up. I should have never left. Goes on this spill. He calls me. He's crying and he's telling me how he wants me back. I was like, yeah, that's not happening. I'm sorry. Also, we were already legally divorced by then. But on the phone, he tells me, I'm literally driving on the way to your house right now. All the way from El Paso. I was like, no, don't do that. He's like, I'm 4 hours away. I will see you in 4 hours. And I asked him, who broke up with who? He tells me that he broke up with her. I said, no, please go make up with her. Get back with her. I'm not taking you back. He's like, no, please, you have to give me another chance. Let's go into the next part because he actually shows up at my house.
Okay, deep breath, because this next part is gonna make you want to fight. He owes $15,000 in child support. His top security clearance is about to get revoked, which means he loses his whole six-figure job. So he calls her, the woman he cheated on, abandoned and disrespected, crying. Please forgive the debt. I'll pay you back. Just take my word for it. And here's the thing that's gonna make you mad at her instead of him for a second. She did it. Signed the papers. Forgave $15,000. Now, before you start, I need you to ask yourself something. When's the last time you made a decision that looked stupid to everyone else but made sense in your head at the time? When's the last time you gave somebody a break you knew they didn't deserve because you wanted to believe in the good that wasn't there? Yeah, that's what I thought. Anyway, months go by. She asks when he's starting to pay her back. You know what this man said? What debt? I'll give you a second. What? Debt? This man said, what debt? Like he didn't just get handed a $15,000 gift from a woman he treated like trash. The memory just evaporated. Poof. Gone. That's not forgetfulness. That's strategy.
I'm gonna tell you about the drama that happened when he showed up to my house saying that he wanted to get back with me. He wanted his family back. I'm gonna tell you what happens with the money situation, how I forgave the child support arrearage, but God literally gave me back all the money that I lost 100-fold. Okay, so as he's driving to my house, I'm on the phone with him telling him not to come to my house. I'm telling him to go make up with his girlfriend because I'm not taking him back. And the whole time he's just like, no, I'm not accepting that. I want my family back. You're my wife. Those are my kids. We're gonna be a family again and things are gonna change. And I'm like, no, I would never even consider that as an option. Then he shows up to my house. As I'm going to the door, I can hear him talking on the phone with someone. He was actually on speaker with his girlfriend. Before I continue with this part of the story, let me just say something. Me, him, his girlfriend, who he's still with today, we all get along. We don't have any beef. So if they see this video, if they see this series, I'm gonna talk about this part very, very respectfully. I have a lot of respect for her. I would never sit here and say anything negative about her. She is my kid's stepmom. And every time my kids are over there, she treats them really well. So like I said, I have a lot of respect for her. And for him too. He's the father of my kids. And as you guys notice in my videos, I'm never attacking anyone. I'm never calling anybody names. I'm never degrading anyone. I'm just telling you the facts of what happened based on my experience, my feelings. This is not a jab at anybody. This is not an attempt to put anybody down. Also, what happens next did not make me feel good as a woman. I felt like in this situation, he really humiliated her and she did not deserve that. Now that we established that, let's go back to the story. He's at my door talking to her. I open the door. She's on speaker. She seems like she's crying. And he literally tells me, hey, I have her on the phone so that she can hear what I have to say to you. I'm just standing there like, oh my gosh, because I know him. I was with that man since I graduated high school. Like he says to both of us, I have my wife in front of me. I love her. I'm getting back with her. This is me telling you that I'm officially done with you and I'm going back to my wife and I'm getting my family back because I love her. And he's literally crying as he's saying this to the both of us. And let me tell you something that really upset me because I've been humiliated by him so many times in so many situations. And I felt like she was now in my shoes. And I was extremely pissed off for her. And then I tell him, don't hang up the phone on her. Let me say something to her. And I want her to hear what I have to say. And right now he starts like slowly walking away because he wants to keep telling her about how he's choosing me over her. He wants me back. And I was like, no, come back because she needs to hear what I need to say. So I address her by her name. I'm like, hey, just so you know, I don't want him back. I've never wanted him back. And there's never been anything between me and that man since the day he walked out of my house on this specific date. I don't want your man. I've never wanted your man. I had nothing to do with anything that he's doing right now. And no matter what he does, I'm never taking him back. So as I'm literally outside of my house yelling all of this, he keeps walking away to his car and he's still talking to her. He's like, nah, I don't care what she says. And I'm just like, oh my gosh. Then he walks back to my door and I'm literally like, bro, why would you do that? I was like, she doesn't deserve that. Like, haven't you done enough? Like, you've done so much damage to so many women. Then you find another good one and you do this to her? The whole time he don't care about anything I'm saying. He's still stuck on the, I'm getting you back, I'm getting my wife back. And then I said to him, I don't have any feelings for you. I'm not even attracted to you. I see you as like a cousin, a long distance cousin. I see you as the father of my kids. I respect you as the father of my kids. I have no feelings nor desires to get back with you. And then that's where he asked me, is it because you have a man? So I tell him, I don't really have a man. Like, I'm talking to someone, getting to know someone. But at that time, I didn't have like a actual boyfriend. So then he's like, okay, then we can just get back together. Again, I said, no, it'll never happen. And then I further explained to him how him and I wouldn't be compatible. We're two different people now. Even if we try to make it work for the kids, it would just never work. I had become a completely different person by this time. So then he's like, damn, I missed my chance. I'm so sorry for everything I did to you. Like, he starts apologizing and crying. He's like, can I at least see my kids? Can I come inside so I can see my kids? So I was like, sure. But since you're already here, I'm gonna need you to stay with them for a couple hours so I can go to the gym. I also want to go shopping today. So I went to the gym, had an amazing workout, came home, got changed, and then I went shopping. I bought a really cute dress because I was invited out dancing on a date. And that is the same night that I met my current husband, the one that I'm married to right now. Me and him have been talking for a couple weeks, just like chit-chatting back and forth. And that night, the kids stayed with their dad and I went out on a date and I met my husband. I also invited my mom and like a couple friends to go out with me because I didn't want to go by myself. So we all went dancing and it was literally so much fun. It was one of the best nights of my life because I hadn't gone out in months. Like, I'd just been working and just taking care of the kids and always between home and work. And I literally stayed out until like 4 a.m. for like the first time ever. We danced the entire night. After that, he invited me on more dates. And after many dates and a few months, we started dating and the rest is history. Also, around this time, my ex-husband and I decided to sell our marital home. The divorce was already final by now, and we had already agreed to split the profits 50-50. For some context, this is a home that we had bought a couple years prior when the market was really, really low. This is also a home that we bought way under market value. During that time when we bought the home, I was working at the bank, so I was very well versed in like loans and banking, and I knew that this home would become a very good investment property. So by the time we put up the house for sale, the value had gone up drastically. Like, when they told me the profit that I was gonna make, I was like, say what? I never had money like that. The home sold 2 weeks later, and the same day it sold, $80,000 was deposited into my bank account as my share. Remember, I'm someone who comes from literally nothing. My parents had never had money. And while yes, I had a degree and a career, I wasn't balling. Imagine one day you just get 80K in your bank account. So I took that money and put it into a high yield savings account. Also, before the house sold and I got that money, I had already paid off all my debt. So all that money was literally for the saving. I was planning on investing it because I was like, oh, if I could just do that again. I'm trying to figure out how to flip this, cause what? So then I decided to use the money to buy a couple acres. I negotiated with the owner and he gave me a really good deal. Also, remember, this was a couple years ago. I paid for the acres in just outright cash. I sat on that for a couple years and then the market went up again. So now the profit wasn't just $80,000. It was around 100K. The profits hit my bank account and I was just like, and then I took all that money and put it in another high yield savings. Also, during that time, I had started a new TikTok account, not this one, it was another account. And to make the long story short, I went mega viral selling TikTok Shop products and I made like $80,000 in commission in 2 months from TikTok Shop. So all that money was also added to the savings. But when I told you that quickly gave me back everything 100-fold, I meant 100-fold.
So here's how this actually ends. That same night, he showed up at her door with his girlfriend on speakerphone, which is a level of disrespect I don't even have words for. She told him to babysit while she went to the gym, then went shopping, then went on a date. And that date, where she met her current husband, the man she's actually happy with now. Yeah, that happened the same night her ex was at her house crying about wanting his family back. The timing of it, the poetry. But the money part? That's where it gets good. Remember that house they bought when the market was low? When they sold it, her cut was $80,000. She took that money, bought some land, waited, flipped it, and made 100,000. Then started doing TikTok shop, went viral, and made another 80,000 in 2 months. Meanwhile, he's in El Paso, probably still telling people his life story. Probably still wondering why nobody feels sorry for him. And that's the lesson. Not karma is real or good things come to those who wait, or any of that greeting card nonsense. The lesson is this: when someone shows you who they are and you finally believe them and walk away, you make room. Room for the money. Room for the peace. Room for the person who's actually gonna show up when your water breaks. And sometimes the best thing a man can do for you is leave and take his fake calculator apps with him.